The pine-scented cleaner burned my eyes as I scrubbed the marble floors of my stepmother Catherine's pristine kitchen. My knees ached, but I didn't dare stop, not with her designer heels clicking closer, ready for their daily inspection. "You missed a spot, Sarah," she said, purposely stepping on my freshly mopped floor. "Really, if you can't even clean properly, what use are you?" I was 22 with a business degree I'd earned through night classes while serving as my stepfamily's unpaid housekeeper. Not that they knew about the degree. To them, I was just the living reminder of my father's first marriage, tolerated only because I could cook, clean, and maintain their perfect image. "Sorry, Catherine," I muttered, rewashing the area she'd marked with her Louboutins. "I'll do better." My stepsister Olivia sauntered in, dropping her designer handbag on my wet floor. "Mom, can you believe Sarah still hasn't finished? I need her to clean my car before my date tonight." "After she finishes the kitchen and does the laundry," Catherine replied as if I wasn't right there. "Though honestly, darling, we should just hire a real maid. Someone professional." I bit my tongue thinking about the business plan hidden in my tiny attic bedroom. The one that would change everything. But why waste money? Olivia smirked. "Sarah's free and it's not like she has anything better to do. Right, Sarah?" I thought about my secret online job managing social media for small businesses. About the startup I was quietly building. About the investors who'd already shown interest in my innovative home services platform. "Right," I said quietly. Nothing better to do. My father, once my fierce protector, had become a shadow of himself since marrying Catherine 5 years ago. He spent most of his time at work, avoiding the tension at home. When he did notice me, it was with guilty eyes that quickly looked away. That evening, as I served dinner, which I'd cooked but wasn't allowed to eat, Catherine made an announcement. "James, darling, Olivia's been accepted to business school. Isn't that wonderful?" My father beamed at my stepsister. "That's amazing. Harvard Business School, following in your mother's footsteps." I nearly dropped the serving tray. I'd applied to Harvard too, been accepted with a partial scholarship. But I couldn't go. Catherine had made it clear that my duties to the family came first. "We'll need to celebrate," Catherine continued. "Sarah, clear your schedule next weekend. We're hosting a party for 50 people. My schedule. As if I had one. As if I hadn't been their on-call maid for the past 5 years. "Actually," I said, surprising myself with my steady voice, "I can't next weekend. I have plans." The dining room fell silent. Even my father looked up from his plate. "Plans?" Catherine's voice could have frozen hell. What possible plans could you have? I thought about my investor meeting. About the pitch I'd been perfecting for months. About the future I'd been secretly building while they thought I was just their maid. Just plans. Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Cancel them. Family comes first, Sarah. Though I suppose you wouldn't understand that, would you? Your mother certainly didn't." The mention of my mother, who died when I was 12, made my hands shake. She'd been a brilliant businesswoman, building a successful company from nothing. Catherine had always hated being reminded that she wasn't my father's first choice. "My mother understood family perfectly," I said quietly. "She also understood self-respect." Olivia gasped dramatically. Catherine's face turned ugly. "Self-respect," she hissed. "You're nothing but a charity case. We gave you a roof over your head, food on your plate. In exchange for being your unpaid servant," I finished. "Yes, I know the deal." My father finally spoke up. "Sarah, apologize to your stepmother." I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in years. "No. No." Catherine stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "How dare you? After everything we've done for you." I set down the serving tray carefully. "You're right. After everything you've done, this is long overdue." I walked out of the dining room, ignoring their shocked calls. In my attic bedroom, I pulled out my laptop and the business documents I'd been preparing. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Amy. "Investor meeting confirmed for Saturday. You ready?" I looked around my tiny room at the life I'd been living while building my escape. More than ready. The next morning I was up before dawn as usual, but instead of starting my chores I packed my bags. Everything important fit into 2 suitcases. My clothes, my laptop, and most importantly my business plans. Catherine found me at the front door. "Where do you think you're going?" "To my new apartment," I replied calmly. I signed the lease last week. Apartment. She laughed coldly. With what money? What job? I smiled, thinking about my growing social media management business, about the investors waiting to hear my pitch. I've been working, Catherine. Just not for you. You ungrateful little. Save it, I cut her off. I'm done being your maid. Done being your punching bag. Done pretending I'm nothing just to make you feel superior. James, she screeched. James, come deal with your daughter. My father appeared, still in his robe, looking lost. Sarah, what's going on? I'm leaving, I said simply. I have a business to build. Catherine's laughter was cruel. A business? Don't be ridiculous. The only thing you're qualified to do is clean houses. The irony of her statement almost made me laugh. My business plan, the one these investors were excited about, was for a revolutionary home services platform. One that would treat domestic workers with respect, pay them fairly, and give them ownership in the company. I'd gotten the idea from years of being treated like a servant. You'll fail, Olivia chimed in from the stairs. You'll come crawling back within a week. I picked up my bags, taking one last look at the house I'd cleaned for 5 years. No, I said quietly. I won't. My father stepped forward, finally finding his voice. Sarah, please. Where will you go? What will you do? I'm going to change the world, Dad. Sorry you won't be there to see it. I walked out into the morning sun, feeling lighter than I had in years. Behind me, I could hear Catherine already planning how to spin my departure to their social circle. Probably something about me being unstable, ungrateful, unworthy of their generosity. Let her spin. I had bigger things to focus on. Amy was waiting in her car around the corner. You okay? She asked as I loaded my bags. I looked back at the house one last time. I will be. That Saturday, I stood before a panel of investors in a borrowed suit, pitching my vision for Fairhaven, a platform that would revolutionize domestic work by treating household staff with dignity, providing benefits and offering profit sharing. And what inspired this business model? One investor asked. I thought about my years as an unpaid maid, about every humiliation and dismissal. Personal experience, I replied. Very personal experience. They loved it. By the end of the meeting, I had $2 million in seed funding. What my stepfamily didn't know, what they'd never bothered to learn, was that I'd been preparing for this moment for years. While they thought I was just cleaning their house, I was studying market trends, building a network, and developing the technology that would disrupt the entire domestic services industry. Their cruelty had given me my $1 million idea. And soon they'd learn exactly what their useless maid had become. 5 years passed in a blur of success. Fairhaven grew from a startup into a revolutionary force in the domestic services industry. Our app connected wealthy households with thoroughly vetted, fairly compensated household staff. More importantly, every employee held equity in the company. We expanded to 30 cities. Celebrities endorsed us. Forbes featured me in their 30 under 30 list. The Maid had become a CEO worth over $100 million. I bought a mansion in the same exclusive neighborhood where I'd once scrubbed floors. 20 rooms of elegant sophistication, each one designed to remind me of how far I'd come. But I needed staff to maintain it. That's when karma handed me a gift. Ms. Harrison? My assistant Jack called from the doorway of my home office. You might want to see this. He handed me his tablet. On the screen was a local news article. Prestigious family faces financial ruin after failed investment. There they were, Catherine, Olivia, and my father, standing outside their foreclosed home. The article detailed how Catherine's poor investment choices had bankrupted them. They'd lost everything, including their social standing. I sat back in my chair, a plan forming. Jack, we need household staff for the mansion, right? He nodded. We've been interviewing candidates all week. Add 3 more to the list. I smiled, showing him their names. Interview them personally. 2 days later, Catherine, Olivia, and my father sat in my mansion's grand foyer, not knowing they were waiting to interview with their former maid. They couldn't see me watching through the security feed, but I could see them clearly. Catherine's designer clothes were last season's, showing signs of wear. Olivia's trademark perfect hair had visible roots. My father looked older, defeated. The owner must be loaded, Olivia whispered, eyeing the crystal chandelier. 20 rooms. Can you imagine cleaning all this? Better than being homeless, Catherine snapped. Thanks to your father's stupid loyalty to his old company, we have nothing. My father winced. You're the one who insisted we invest everything in that scheme. Silence. Catherine hissed. Someone's coming. Jack approached them, tablet in hand. Mrs. Stewart? Miss Stewart? Mr. Harrison? The owner will see you now. Please follow me. He led them to my office. I'd chosen my outfit carefully. A custom-made suit that cost more than their old monthly mortgage. I sat with my back to the door, facing the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked my pristine gardens. Please sit, I said without turning around. They settled into the leather chairs. I could hear Catherine already putting on her fake charm. We're so grateful for this opportunity, she simpered. We have extensive experience managing household affairs. Really? I swiveled around slowly. Do tell. The silence that followed was absolutely delicious. Sarah, my father choked out. Hello, family, I smiled. Looking for work? Catherine's face went through a fascinating series of expressions. Shock, disbelief, anger, and finally fear. This is your house? Olivia stammered. All 20 rooms, I confirmed. Quite a step up from that attic bedroom, wouldn't you say? But how? Catherine managed. Remember all those hours I spent cleaning your house? I leaned forward. I was also building a business. One that ensures no domestic worker ever gets treated the way you treated me. I pulled up Fairhaven's statistics on my desktop screen. We're in 30 cities now. Over 10,000 employees, all with equity stakes. Our last valuation was $500 million. My father's hands were shaking. Sarah, we had no idea. Of course you didn't, I cut him off. You were too busy watching me scrub your floors to notice I was getting a business degree. Too occupied with Olivia's Harvard acceptance to realize I'd gotten in too. Harvard. Olivia's voice was barely a whisper. You. Full scholarship, I nodded. Which I had to turn down because Catherine insisted I was needed at home. Funny how life works out though. Now I give guest lectures there about ethical business practices. Catherine's survival instincts kicked in. Darling, we're family. Surely we can put the past behind us. Family. I laughed. Like when you made me eat in the kitchen. Or when you called me worthless. That kind of family. We were wrong, my father said quietly. So wrong. Please, Sarah. Please what, Dad? Please help you. Please give you jobs. Please forget how you stood by while your wife turned your daughter into an unpaid servant. His shoulders slumped. He had no defense. Actually, I continued, I am considering hiring you. All of you. Hope flickered across their faces. The positions are entry-level, of course. Catherine, we need someone to clean the floors. 20 rooms take a lot of maintenance. Olivia, the windows need daily attention. Dad, the gardens require constant work. Manual labor? Catherine looked horrified. But we're not. Not what? Too good for honest work? Too refined to be servants. I raised an eyebrow. That's not what you said when I was doing these jobs for you. This is ridiculous. Olivia stood up. We're leaving. Are you? I asked mildly. Where to? Your house is foreclosed. Your bank accounts are empty. Your social circle has abandoned you. But please don't let me stop you from exploring other opportunities. They stayed seated. The jobs pay well, I continued. Better than any other domestic position in the city. All Fairhaven employees get health insurance, paid vacation, and company equity. Much more than you ever gave me. Catherine's lips were trembling. You're enjoying this. Immensely, I admitted. Think of it as a learning experience. You'll finally understand what it's like to be on the other side. And if we refuse? My father asked. I shrugged. Then refuse. I hear the homeless shelter on 10th Street is nice this time of year. Olivia started to cry. Catherine looked like she'd swallowed poison. My father just stared at his hands. The choice is yours. I stood up. Jack will provide the employment contracts. You have until tomorrow to decide. Wait, Catherine burst out. You live here alone? In this huge house? I smiled. Oh no. I live here with my husband. You might know him, David Chin, the tech billionaire. Their faces went pale. David had been Olivia's crush in college. She'd rejected him for being a computer nerd. He'd gone on to found one of the largest tech companies in the world. We met at a CEO conference, I added. Turns out we had a lot in common, including dealing with people who underestimated us. That was the final blow. Olivia ran out crying. Catherine's perfect posture crumbled. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years. They took the jobs. Over the next year I watched them adjust to their new reality. Catherine's manicured hands grew calloused from scrubbing floors. Olivia's designer clothes were replaced by practical cleaning uniforms. My father's golf tan faded as he tended the gardens. Every morning they arrived through the service entrance, the same way I'd entered their house for 5 years. Every evening they left exhausted, understanding finally what it meant to be treated as invisible. I made sure they were treated fairly. All Fairhaven employees were. But I also made sure they understood their place. When Catherine complained about the physical labor, I reminded her of how she'd made me scrub floors while recovering from the flu. When Olivia bemoaned her ruined manicures, I mentioned the time she'd made me clean her bathroom with a toothbrush. When my father tried to apologize, I showed him pictures of my graduation, the one he'd skipped because Catherine had a spa day planned. One day I overheard Catherine talking to another housekeeper. I never knew how hard this work was. How demanding. How dehumanizing. That's why Miss Harrison started Fairhaven, the housekeeper replied. She understands. She lived it. Slowly I watched them change. Catherine's arrogance faded. Olivia's entitlement diminished. My father's guilt grew. At the company's annual staff appreciation dinner, I took the stage to give a speech. They stood in the back in their uniforms, listening as I told my story. Fairhaven was born from experience, I told the crowd. From understanding what it means to be treated as less than human. To be called worthless. To be seen as nothing more than a servant. I met their eyes across the room. But every person has value. Every job deserves respect. And sometimes, those you dismiss as worthless become the ones signing your paychecks. The crowd applauded. Catherine wiped away tears. Olivia stared at her shoes. My father finally looked me in the eye. They still work for me. The 20-room mansion stays spotless. The gardens bloom. The windows sparkle. And every day they're reminded that karma has a sense of humor. Yesterday I overheard Olivia telling a new housekeeper, "Be grateful you work for Fairhaven." Some employers, they treat their staff like they're nothing. I used to be one of those people. Never again. Catherine's hands may be rough from cleaning, but her soul is softer. My father tends the gardens with a humility he never showed as a CEO. Me. I run a billion-dollar company that's changing how domestic workers are treated worldwide. I live in a mansion bigger than my stepfamily's old house. I married the man Olivia rejected. But most importantly, I proved that sometimes the worthless maid becomes the one thing they never expected. Their boss. Karma really is hilarious.